know, open, like if they open like Nexus first, it's really hard to punish. You don't have units in
Mm.
time. Or even just a greedy gate expand can even make it very difficult. So it's a very common thing to happen in ZVP. ZVZ, you only really see it with like Ling Bane all-ins, and they'll like transfer some workers there.
I
Or
think
Ling
it's
all-ins even.
yeah.
Just Ling straight up Ling.
I think
Which are really scary, but
yeah. I'm pretty sure these are going to be pretty quick games, to be honest.
yeah. Oh yeah. And here we go. We're going in ZVZ on Terraform LE JonSnow versus PandaBearMe. What? There we go. And now here on the bottom right corner on Terraform, we have the yellow Zerg and PandaBearMe.
And in the top left position, we have representing Flipside Gaming, JonSnow.
All right, so in this matchup, at least what we saw yesterday, we saw a lot of like macro-oriented play. We saw like things like, 14-14 as a safe play, and then a lot of hatch versus. I wonder if we're going to see similar things like that. I'm not entirely convinced that these players will specifically focus on some sort of one base play. I think if they're going to be really aggressive, it'll probably be off two bases. One base play has fallen a little bit out of favor in this matchup from what I've noticed recently because, as players get better, they're able to defend, these cheeky one base things with just their beautifully strong workers. So, and from what we can tell right now, yeah, it's not going to be like a one base cheese.
Of course, yeah. And I think a lot of these wins on this map, especially for ZVZ, is going to be counterattack based, who can not do the critical blow, but get away with the small little jabs at the economy, maybe burrow roaches or something like that. But big game, like I don't really see like in the mid game, just a big fight happen and the game usually ends there. It usually has some kind of harass to it.
Oh yeah, especially with that third base location where there's like three different entrances into it, it's really vulnerable to harass and difficult to defend. If you take the other third and the roaches can like harass your mineral line from behind, and that's just not necessarily ideal. Here we see that PandaBearMe took a hatch first and then followed by a gas, so he's going hatch gas pool, while JonSnow went for a pool first and then hatch. He'll probably get a gas soon, but he could play gasless. I see him as someone who would take gas, but we'll find out. PandaBearMe is being probably the greediest build he can actually get away with in this matchup.
Yeah. He's not afraid, and but JonSnow's respecting that aggression could come, so he played a little bit safer. So they're just gonna even out with
yeah.
But it just goes to show the mentality of both players, whether who wants to be the more aggressor and who wants to be the more defensive. Obviously, JonSnow, maybe he thinks he's the better player, and so he doesn't want to lose to some early cheese.
Oh yeah. A lot of the times when people think they're the better player, they won't generally take unnecessary risks. Sometimes, the worst player will sometimes do that because they're assumed the better player will like cheese them really hard or something like that. But a lot of times, like worst players will take unnecessary risks. PandaBearMe's risk, which isn't that big of a risk, aside from like a really early pool, isn't like showing that he's disrespecting JonSnow in any way. He's just like, I want to bring this into a macro game, so I'm going to play pretty greedy. And JonSnow's like, I'm just going to make sure he's not doing anything too cheeky.
Yeah. And he's going to try to get this drone kill. Good denial from PandaBearMe, not losing a single drone.
Yep, and both the lanes got cleaned up. And here we go. PandaBearMe is now putting down his Baneling Nest, so that could be a safety Baneling Nest. The fact that he's continuing to mine as much gas, though, is telling me that he wants to put on some pressure with this. JonSnow still is mining gas and started speed, so he might be trying to put down a Baneling Nest also relatively soon. We'll see what he does. Oh, but there it is.
He's putting it in a more defensive posture so the Lings can't get a whole wraparound on the Queen. So I'm thinking JonSnow is thinking he might want to tech up, but the Baneling Nest is more of a safety Baneling Nest.
Oh, yeah. And here you see PandaBearMe sees that he has a Baneling Nest, so you can't necessarily be suspicious of too much with that. Yeah, he's probably going to assume that's a defensive one, especially considering the timing was a little bit after his. So we'll see how he chooses to respond. JonSnow is making 8 Zerglings for safety. He's probably going to convert a few of them into Banelings because they'll finish right as that Baneling nest. Oh, he shot up to a 16. Maybe he
And
might
there,
decide to put in some pressure.
and PandaBearMe is now getting that layer, so he thinks he can just go into the quick. I think he might go into mutas, and after JonSnow sees this, he's probably going to try to put on some kind of aggression because he thinks that PandaBearMe he's taken up too greedily. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, PandaBearMe making his defensive Banelings and a Spine Crawler, so it's going to come up to the micro from both sides. We're going to see who can get the Baneling connections they need. JonSnow has to be a little bit careful here, and yep, he loses the lane, but at least he didn't get Baneling to death. And here, well, we're going to have to see.
Oh, pretty good bailing hit.
And we're seeing here, JonSnow is in the slight lead here. He has to make sure those 2 Banelings do not get picked off by the Lings in the back, and that those 2 Banelings in the front don't destroy him. I don't think he's going to continue to put on pressure here, though. I think he realizes he can't really break them.
No one wants to. They know they can't break each other, and just because I think PandaBearMe or JonSnow saw that PandaBearMe made a spine, and that's just so much more resources, so he's just going to pull back. But he does see this counterattack from PandaBearMe, so he's putting up his own spine, and he knows that if he just holds this out, he can easily go into the Spire much quicker. But we'll see if PandaBearMe tries to break this, or if he's just going to pull back. He's getting a Spire, so I think this is just false pressure.
Yeah, assuming that JonSnow doesn't make any like horrific micro mistake, I don't think PandaBearMe is going to be able to break him. He's just going to try to keep JonSnow honest and so he doesn't like just constantly make drones and get really ahead. So he's just going to put on pressure. And we're seeing here they're both going Muta, so we're going to get some Mutaling versus Mutaling here, which is going to be really fun. You don't actually get to see that as much in DBZ. It's getting a little bit more popular recently after the... For a while we had the thing of like always Roach versus Roach, but
so
people are starting to go back in the
one big distinguish from both these players is that JonSnow is actually pulling back all his Overlords, knowing that's going to be Spire, and PandaBearMe isn't right now, so JonSnow is probably going to get a couple of Overlord kills, while JonSnow is pulling back all of his, so PandaBearMe is just going to be going, like, he's going to be losing these Overlords essentially for free to mutas.
Yeah, and that's always frustrating because not only are you like spending another 100 resource making overlords, you're also spending some larvae that can be made into drones, more mutas, and whatever. So if he loses a bunch of those, he loses map coverage, he loses, actual valuable supply, could block him, and then, he also has to, he'll probably have less mutas in the long run because of that. But we'll see if JonSnow actually goes for that, or maybe he might try to hit PandaBearMe before he would have any spores, since they 3-shot mutas. They're really difficult to fight against. And they're both going for the +1 armor right here. For the
just so they don't die to more shots. They both know they have a third base, and none of them could really try to deny. Even though I think PandaBearMe might get a cancel on this hatch rate. If he gets a cancel on the third hatch rate, that'd be huge, but I don't think it's going to go through. We'll see how much PandaBearMe actually wants to commit to that, because if he does get a cancel on that, he's actually going to be ahead in the muta count, just because he's going to be able to mine more gas for it.
Yeah, and you'll also have more lever. Oh, he's going to go straight into the main. He's going to try to do some damage. He splits off into the natural as well to try to force JonSnow's multitasking a bit. JonSnow does clean up at the natural, but he still has to worry about these Lings in the main that pick off a queen and are killing off the Zerglings there. But he's able to clean that up too. It does hurt a lot to lose the queen. That's another inject round he's behind on. So that can actually make a decent amount of difference. And he did lose 4 drones, which isn't too big of a deal considering the amount of Lings, but he is behind by 11 workers, and that's a decently big deal.
Oh yeah, that's definitely huge in this whole concept. And they're both going to get their gases at the same time, but I would say PandaBearMe is actually doing quite well. I think JonSnow only picked off like 2 free Overlords, but if he clears out all the airspace, he could supply cap PandaBearMe and go for a huge counterattack, like this one right here at the third.
Oh yeah, he's getting 5 drones. Okay, so now he cut back up on the worker count, and he's going to trade favorably with these lanes, but he has to get out because the mutas are here, and as we all know, Zerglings do not shoot up. And he's bringing these mutas into the main, and I don't think there's any sport problems here.
With this. Yeah, this is huge. He's going to get so many drone kills. I don't think he should have pulled back quickly. I think he should have went for a couple more volleys. I think he's really just scared about getting caught out. But the muta count is actually pretty close. JonSnow's actually only behind by 1, but they weren't all grouped together. And I think JonSnow, if he actually treats this right, he's going to go for this fight.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a little bit difficult because PandaBearMe does have the slightly better muta positioning here. He was able to start with JonSnow's in the middle. That was a pretty even fight. The queen came in to help, so JonSnow's like, okay, I'm not gonna continue pressuring here because that queen's gonna add just enough DPS since we have such close muta counts that he could get an advantage. So I'm not gonna risk it.
Mm.
These Lings got into the main, but they're derping a little bit, so they're not getting quite as much
Yeah,
damage
they're
done as they
only
could
going for
have.
the queen. Big
Yeah.
interest is JonSnow is going for +1 flyers, and PandaBearMe hasn't started his flying upgrades yet. So this is actually pretty huge. If JonSnow can wait for that +1 to finish, he should definitely take on a muta fight, especially if he's defending. But if he's attacking, I'm pretty sure he'll come out ahead in that point.
He did get a free muta in that little engagement, and he might get another one if he
Oh,
focus fires
he's
right.
just picking him off. He's gonna pick off 3 mutas in total right here,
Oh,
and
that's huge. He's also once his +1 fire attack is gone or is up. He currently has 3 more mutas than PandaBearMe, about to finish some more. So now he has 6 more mutas. Plus he's having his +1 attack a lot sooner.
mhm.
So he has actually a really big advantage right now. And I think he's gonna wait for that +1 attack and maybe try to commit into a push and see if he can maybe break PandaBearMe or do even more significant damage.
Oh yeah, I think JonSnow's ahead in almost every way right now. He even has Ling run by in the top right position, waiting for PandaBearMe to move out, and he's going to go into the third. So as long as he doesn't lose too much from this muta run by and the Ling run bys, I think JonSnow is going to be like in a winning position to just end the game right then and there. But here we go.
As we can see right now, also, he's still like severely ahead in workers and picking up a few more, and he's ahead in an army supply by around 20. So, while PandaBearMe is trying to get this counter aggression going, it's not actually doing that much. He's losing free links. He might be able to get some drones in the main with this giant mutaflog that's actually heading in right now.
JonSnow's mutas are out of position also.
Yeah, so this is gonna be really oh, but PandaBearMe backs off. He does deny some mining time, but there's also a counterattack at his third as well. They both lost a decent amount of workers there, so this is PandaBearMe is still behind. He's trying to even it up and doing the best he can, but it ends up being too much. And there's the GG. JonSnow takes map number 1.
I mean, JonSnow was just ahead in almost every way at there. The
Yeah.
beginnings were pretty close with the bailing, the counterattacks, just the back and forth aggression. But yeah, JonSnow was just overall the better muta player at that point.